What's up, folks? I am YouTube's #1 breakup and divorce guru, Brad Browning, and welcome to my latest video where I'm going to share a number of simple tips and techniques that you can use to reduce the frequency of arguments with your partner. So if you feel like you're fighting too often with your partner, this video is going to be a must-watch for you. Now, before I get into it, please do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button to show your support for my channel. And of course, leave your questions and feedback below the video. You know I love interacting with you guys in the comments section, so don't be shy. Now, before we get going, let's clear up one thing. Arguments are normal in any relationship. So whether you're married or you've only been dating a few months, disagreements with your partner are to be expected. In fact, one recent study showed that occasional arguments can actually be a healthy thing and can even improve your relationship. So if you get into a fight every so often, don't stress about it. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that your relationship is completely screwed. But that being said, if those arguments become too frequent and begin to consume a large portion of the time you spend together with your partner, then that's definitely an issue that you need to address. Which is why, of course, you should be using and implementing the tips that I'm about to share. Tip number 1, pick your battles. Look, I know this isn't exactly what you want to hear, but it's important to recognize that you can't get upset at your partner for every little thing that they do that happens to irritate you. It's really important to take a step back and really evaluate what's worth fighting for. Is it really a big deal if your partner forgets to text you to say goodnight? Do you really need to get mad at him or her because they're 5 minutes late to dinner? Maybe so, but at the end of the day, you need to decide what you can and you can't live with and what's worth battling for. Tip number 2, make it known to your partner that you want to argue less. So ideally, both you and your boyfriend or girlfriend need to make a conscious effort to try and argue less. Remember, in any relationship, you and your partner are a team. And in order for the team to work and function properly, everybody, including your partner, needs to play ball. So when you two aren't fighting, just lightly bring up the subject and tell him or her that you'd really like to work on arguing less often. By taking the initiative and showing that you care, your partner will be more inclined to try his or her best too. Tip number 3, take a timeout. So if you find yourself in a heated situation with your partner, don't immediately continue with the dispute. Instead, consider taking a timeout, walking away, or just getting some fresh air. Humans are hardwired with a desire to win, which is why we have a hard time letting down our guard and admitting defeat. So when couples talk about hot button issues like money, trust, sex, it's not uncommon for one partner to turn up the heat and escalate the issue. So the next time you find yourself getting into any kind of argument or heated debate with your partner, take a break and revisit the subject when neither one of you feels overwhelmed by the topic. Going into a conversation that has the potential for debate with a calm and clear mind can avoid an argument altogether. Now, I know this might sound completely obvious, but so many people just allow fights to get started and get out of hand without taking the time to actually think things over and put the topic into perspective. Please trust me, and the next time you find yourself falling into a heated argument with your partner, put on the brakes and take a 30-minute timeout before you re-engage. You'll be surprised at how many fights can be avoided just by doing this. Tip number 4, choose the right time to bring up sensitive subjects. Now, this ties into what I just talked about. It's best to avoid bringing up potentially heated topics with your partner when one of you is already in a bad mood or when you're not in the right frame of mind to have a mature discussion about it. So if your boyfriend or girlfriend starts a conversation about something that you know is going to end up in an argument, don't be afraid to say, "Can we please talk about this tomorrow? I think it'll be more productive to have this discussion when I'm not feeling so cranky," or just something along those lines. Tip number 5, use the word I instead of you. Now, this is something I've covered before in several of my past videos, but it's a very important tactic that can really improve the way that you communicate with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Simply put, you should always try to use the word I in place of the word you when you're discussing anything serious, as this makes your partner feel less attacked and makes you appear, less confrontational. So for instance, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try saying, "I feel like I'm not being heard when I talk to you." That's simple, right? But it really is a very effective technique. Tip number 6, actually listen to your partner's concerns. A lot of people have a tendency to treat arguments simply as a means to share their grievances with their boyfriend or girlfriend, like a one-way communication channel, essentially. But folks, if you want to have a productive disagreement that actually ends in a positive solution, or at least avoid any hurt feelings and longer-term damage, then you need to see disagreements and fights with your partner as a two-way street, where you actually listen to and acknowledge your partner's position. And that actually ties in nicely with tip number 7, which is to be willing to compromise. So often the only way to come to an actual solution with your partner is for both of you to give some ground. So if you both stick rigidly to your desired outcome, then the fight is likely just going to keep going and going. It might be that one or both of you need to compromise a little so that you're able to move past things. Sometimes even an imperfect solution is better than no solution at all. And of course, once you reach a solution, That's one less thing you'll have to argue about in the future, therefore reducing the overall frequency of disagreements in your relationship. Tip number 8, give up on the idea that every argument ends with a happy ending. Honestly, sadly, every argument is not going to end with a resolution or a compromise that leaves you both satisfied. Sometimes you simply need to shut down the conversation, politely and diplomatically, of course, even if you haven't come any closer to finding common ground. So if things are getting heated, if one or both of you is becoming irrational and making things personal, then it's better to take a break and cool down before you continue. Things can spiral out of control quickly, and swearing, screaming, or throwing a tantrum is definitely not going to help you sort things out. It's only going to make matters worse. So if things have come to that in any debate with your partner, that's a sign that you're not going to come to a productive conclusion right now, and you need to put things aside and revisit the issue another day. Tip number 9, have a potential solution in mind. So if you have some kind of complaint or grievance that you want to bring up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and you know that the discussion is likely going to end in an argument, it can be very helpful to already have a potential solution in mind that you can propose to your partner. So for instance, let's say you're annoyed that your partner constantly leaves their clothes on the bathroom floor. When you bring up the issue with him or her, you can present a possible solution right off the bat. So for instance, you might say, I'm frustrated that the bathroom floor is often littered with your clothes. How about I install some more wall hooks so you can start hanging up your clothes from now on? And finally, tip number 10 is to use humor. So instead of screaming at your partner because you're angry at him or her, make a joke. If you know the issue isn't the biggest deal in the world, then just make a friendly jab at your spouse. And this way you get the point across in a fun and much less offensive way. Sometimes laughter is the best way to get over conflict. Now, obviously this tactic isn't appropriate for some topics, but it can work really well for the less serious disagreements. Okay guys, that is it for today. Like I said earlier, please leave your comments below so I can get back to you personally. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.